Welcome, ass munchkins, to TP for your earholes. My name is Charlene Schmidt, and with me is...
the co-host, Patrick Schmidt. I'm the, definitely not the face of the operation.
You're the brains of the operation, babe.
I don't know about that either.
Oh, I don't know. Some weeks you really are the brains, and I just show up and I talk, and then that's it.
Well, this week it's not quite that, because we worked together really hard on coming up with some thoughts about merchandising, and that's what we're getting into today.
That's right. We're going to talk about the past, current merch, what we think about it. What kind of merch do we have? Do we like it? Let's find out.
Yeah, and we're super excited for this episode, but we're also super excited for our next one and the one after that. So if you want to keep up with what we're doing, you can do that. Shar, how can they do that?
Go follow us on Blue Sky, Instagram, or Facebook, or all three, for that matter. And do that at TP for your earholes. You can reach out there, keep up with all those latest updates, and you can also follow us on YouTube. You can listen to us on YouTube. You can comment on YouTube, and don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. You can also reach out to us through the contact form on our website, and that is at tpforyourearholes.com. And hey, since we haven't had any new reviews in a little while, how about it, guys? Please, please, please. It does help the algorithm do the algorithm things, help the audience find us, and we would really appreciate your help as far as that goes. We could use some new reviews. To those of you who have done it already, thank you.
Yes, you are the best. We love you and appreciate you. And if you haven't yet, we still love you and appreciate you. We'll just love you and appreciate you a little bit more. That's all.
That's right. Well, now with the housekeeping done, how about we dive in?
Let's do it, because this is a topic that's been on our list since the very first episode. We have wanted to do this kind of merchandising deep dive and really not so much explore what's available, but explore what it means. And that's kind of been the driving force behind how we've organized our thoughts today.
Yes, it took us a little while to get to this point, too, and really flesh out this topic, because we thought, merch, yes, let's talk about it. But how? Why should we talk about it? And now here we are finally doing it. It did take a little bit of work to make this one happen.
And I think it's important to know that we are coming from a place of understanding that Beavis and Butthead has been a merch factory, right? That this has been a show that has generated all kinds of different things, and it's been like that from the beginning, right? I mean, you remember seeing Beavis and Butthead shirts in the earliest iterations, right?
Absolutely. My junior high school was just riddled with them. And so my earliest thoughts about Beavis and Butthead merch were that once they hit the scene, so did the merch. It happened fast.
Yeah, and also, if you happen to have a copy of the King Turd collection, or at least the King Turd version we have, there is the Beavis and Butthead fashion show, which is one of the worst things that has ever aired on all television of all countries. And it's exactly what it says it is. It's a fashion show on like a Florida beach on spring break, and everyone is wearing Beavis and Butthead gear.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, MTV. Stop.
Yeah, but that was like season 2, and we know season 1 was only 3 episodes. So season 2, like, they were fully in on trying to cash in as much as they could on this show.
Certainly. And that was kind of 90s advertising just in general. If there was a way to make a quick buck, heck yeah, they're doing it.
Yeah. So there are kind of a couple different variations when we talk about merchandising, though. And one is clothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's clothing and then there's all the other stuff. So I think the biggest, most obvious one is the shirts.
Yes.
Right, where there were a ton of Beavis and Butthead shirts, and some of them were so controversial that school districts across the country banned them.
Yes. I do remember that was a conversation being had at my junior high school. Were Beavis and Butthead shirts allowed alongside T-shirts that advertise things like cigarettes and maybe like semi-grotesque things like, I don't know if it was No Fear, but there was a line of shirts popular at this time that were showing kind of like daredevil acts. And is that encouraging the youth to do foolish things? I don't know. But I don't know for sure if there was a ban, but if there was one, it was short-lived because I remember seeing Beavis and Butthead shirts all over the place throughout all of the 90s.
Me too. It was definitely, I'll put it this way. In my school, we had dudes walking around with the Big Johnson shirts. You remember the Big Johnson shirts? We also had the ones where it was a rooster and a cat.
Uh-huh.
And they were calling each other some profane names.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the rooster is calling the cat a pussy, the cat's calling a rooster a cock.
Just in case you don't get the joke.
Right. That was seen multiple times in my hallways of my school. That was accepted. It was okay. So seeing a Beavis and Butthead shirt was not exactly the most shocking thing. It fit into our school culture, that's for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Now, did you have any Beavis and Butthead shirts growing up, in the original era?
You know what? In the 90s, I don't know if I did. Not for a good long while anyway, probably not until I had my own money. Anyway, and then I started buying a little more merch. But the t-shirts, which is so funny because I'm a t-shirt queen. I am a fiend for showing off what I love, what I like to say, expressing myself via t-shirt.
Yes.
It's kind of a thing that's happened over the years. But back then, it sort of wasn't.
Well, and likewise, I don't think I had my first Beavis and Butthead shirt until you gave me one for Christmas one year in 2009. Yeah.
Was it that far back? Because I didn't think it was that long ago.
It was something like that, but
Okay.
I enjoyed the show. I watched the show. It was one of my favorite shows even then, but I didn't merch out. I didn't fall into that. But now, I've got probably a half dozen Beavis and Butthead shirts. I know you've got more. And we've got the socks. We've got Beavis and Butthead socks.
We do.
And we've caught up, I guess.
Maybe so. Now, question for you. Was the fact that Beavis and Butthead was a popular show and the fact that merch was everywhere turn you off when you were a teenager? It's that whole everything popular is wrong kind of a mentality.
It was a popular show, but the merch wasn't popular in my school.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So it didn't really turn me off. I know in other places it was super, super popular, and certainly the show was popular, but the merch wasn't. So you just didn't see it that much. People were too busy with their No Fear and Big Johnson shirts.
Oh my gosh, yeah, No Fear. That's just it. I think Beavis and Butthead was just one of many things that were popular. And so, hey, yeah, I noticed it, but I wasn't necessarily turned off by it, even if I wasn't necessarily wearing it myself,
Yes.
if that makes any sense.
Sure.
I think there is also a distinct difference between a show having merch and it being a popular show, and then the marketing being so overblown that it's gimmicky.
Yes.
And that's what that MTV fashion show was. So they definitely crossed that line there. That is such a stupid, horrible, and it's painful to watch, you guys.
It's really bad.
That only MTV of the 1990s could possibly produce.
By the way, I did go searching for that on YouTube. It's not on YouTube, and I couldn't really find it even anywhere else on the internet, and I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that is not on the internet.
I'm grateful, too. That's a good thing, y'all.
So I do want to also mention that we have the second area of merchandising, which is, to be blunt here, we have the explicit tag on this show. All the other shit. Right.
And you can find most of it on eBay.
Oh, you can. And I went on eBay, and I also went on the Paramount official merch store.
Oh, hey.
Short, incomplete list, just to kind of give you an idea of all the things Beavis and Butthead you could get. Glasses, posters, trading cards, figurines, plushies, Valentine's Day dolls, TP holders, ceramic jars, lunchboxes, buttons, patches, pins, magnets, pencils, shoes, wallet, blankets, standees, phone cases, rugs, backpacks, keychains, pencil toppers, stickers, Christmas stockings, Christmas ornaments, dog leashes, dog collars, et al.
Okay, now that you've laid out that whole list, is this a combination of things that you can find that are older items as well as newer items?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's older stuff, it's newer stuff, and it's also, I think, a testament to the fact that if there was a thing you could sell, MTV was going to slap Beavis and Butthead's face on it.
Again, tapping into that thing, did it get gimmicky? Maybe, I don't know, maybe not as much as other franchises at the time where you're putting Star Wars, the logo on a banana, which I have actually seen in my lifetime.
That's disgusting.
But still.
Yeah. And I think the apex of this, right, is that Beavis and Butthead were not allowed to use AC/DC and Metallica in their licensed merch. So they had to come up with alternatives, and they're fairly famous. It's Butthead's Skull and Beavis's Death Rock. And if you go onto the Paramount shop, also if you go onto the Hot Topic online store.
Oh my God, what is this, 2005?
Right? You can buy the Skull and Death Rock shirts.
No.
So the shirts that they have to wear in licensed merchandise as to not infringe on AC/DC and Metallica are now in and of themselves merch.
Man, this is the dumbest paradox. I really hate this.
Oh, and I did not realize that you could do this until I started doing this research for this show. And I distinctly remember a little bit of throw up coming into my mouth. And I was like, this isn't right. But it leads us into the big question of the day, right?
Which is,
does merch mean selling out? And does that mean a show becomes uncool?
that is the big question, right?
That's the big question. And that's the one that we've been, I think, waiting to have that conversation on mic.
Yes. Off mic, we've been dancing around it. And I even think during this recording, we've hinted at little bits of our thoughts. But it is a fine line. And we have to take into account advertising, marketing, all of that. That was different in the 90s compared to how it is in the 2020s.
Absolutely it is. And that's a really good point. Because I think, does merch mean selling out? I think the answer is yes. And I'm reminded of the line, and I know it's come up in several places, but the first place that it really stuck with me was in SLC Punk, which is, I didn't sell out, I bought in.
Which is what people will tell you when they're at the head of something that just blows up and gets massively popular.
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Okay.
I don't think that it's necessarily selling out. I do think that when it gets so oversaturated that's when it becomes uncool. And that's when it's a turnoff. And that's when suddenly the thing that you loved is no longer the same thing.
And that leads to two other questions. One is it selling out? And I'm going to sort of backdoor my way into agreeing with you, which is,
okay,
I do think it's selling out, but I don't begrudge them, right? If I were in that situation, I'd be selling out too.
Right? Everybody in the 21st century needs to make money. It's a part of life. We have to do it. And so if you have that opportunity, yeah, duh, of course you're going to take that opportunity. You must. It's called survival, bitch.
Right. And I think, though, that you are completely 100% right that oversaturation is a problem. And here's my thought. Do you think Beavis and Butthead ever got oversaturated with the marketing and the items? And, you know, you could walk down the street with your Beavis and Butthead hat and your Beavis and Butthead shirt and your Beavis and Butthead dog collar on your Beavis and Butthead leash as you walked Colette in...
Oh no, she's sick.
In Colette's, Beavis and Butthead dog onesie, right?
Yeah, you illustrate a really good point, which is the moment that you and your dog and your car and your desk at work are all decked out in your Beavis and Butthead merch, maybe that's a bit much.
I agree with you, and this is the crux of one of the big conversation pieces that we've been having over the last couple weeks as we've prepared for this, is we still thought Beavis and Butthead was cool. Even though the market had been saturated with all this merchandising, it never lost its cool edge, and that's the paradox that both of us have been struggling to understand.
1,000%, because my enjoyment of the show had nothing to do with the merch and maybe even my inability as a teenager to buy it because I didn't have a whole lot of spending money. And even if I did, I wasn't necessarily buying Beavis and Butthead stuff. Like, I did get Beavis and Butthead to America on VHS. I did get that.
Yeah.
But a lot of things, I don't know, I guess I feel like the merch is so optional that it doesn't take away from my enjoyment of the show. But again, a fine line. If I was seeing Beavis and Butthead every single place, everywhere I looked, I would maybe start to think, you know what, maybe I don't like this show as much anymore. Just because I've seen it happen with so many other shows, franchises, whatever you want to call them.
And I'll tell you quite honestly, if I had worn a Beavis and Butthead shirt to school, I may have singularly made Beavis and Butthead uncool.
Why? What?
I fully admit that I was not the suave, sophisticated man you see before you when I was 15. I wasn't unpopular, but I also was not a trendsetter. And if I had come in with, with a Beavis and Butthead shirt on, that might have been the tipping point for oversaturation.
Oh no, to your classmates and friends. Oh, Patrick's wearing the Beavis and Butthead shirt? Oh.
And to the world. I think I saved Beavis and Butthead's coolness by not buying into the merch.
You singularly did that?
Yeah, you're welcome, Mike Judge. You are welcome.
Wow. Well, okay, you've got your point of view. I've got mine.
but I really do think that there's something to be said for a show that was as merchandised as Beavis and Butthead that somehow resisted this trap that so many other things fall into. And I think that that's a testament to a lot of different things. I think the most important is that the show was good.
For those who got it anyway. And
right.
For those who didn't get it, they're certainly not buying the merch.
No, but the quality of the show, I think, helped more than anything, among other reasons, but it was still cool to be a fan of the show because the show really didn't lose its edge.
No, and one interesting thing to see over the years has been the resilience of Beavis and Butthead. Every time the show has made a comeback, there has also been some merch.
Yeah.
In particular, Christmas 2011. Do you remember Black Friday that year?
Was that the actual only year that we went to a doorbuster sale?
We did.
Yeah.
We were at Target at midnight.
Yep.
I don't remember all the things that we wanted to get, but there was enough to make us say, all right, we're going to do this.
Yes.
And among those things
yes.
was Beavis and Butthead pajama pants for me and a Beavis and Butthead piggy bank, which is behind me.
Yeah. Yeah, we still have it to this day.
Yes. And I wore those pajama pants out. Several years later, I found another pair in my size secondhand for $10. I cannot tell you how excited I was because those pants were so comfy, so soft, so nice and stretchy, and 100% cotton.
Which is a thing for you.
It is a big thing because most clothes are not made with 100% cotton anymore. If you go to Walmart.com right now, you will find Beavis and Butthead pajama pants in the listings. It's 92% polyester, which is not acceptable.
Not to you, anyway.
Not to me. I refuse to wear polyester whenever possible. I think it's gross.
So that leads to this next idea. What do we think of the merch that's out today? I mean, is it oversaturated now, and is it something that might turn new fans of the show away from it, or do we think it's the opposite, where the merch is the advertising which gets people into the show?
That's a really good question, and I don't feel like I can answer that latter half as a very long-term veteran fan. I don't know if seeing merch, say at Walmart, is bringing people into the show, or if newer fans are attracted to the merch that's out. Personally, things like the Valentine's figurines and stuff like that, I gotta say, they didn't do a whole lot for me. Is it kind of cool to see that it's out there? Sure. Did I buy it? I did not.
No.
I am a person who loves practical things that I can actually use. And so figurines are at the absolute bottom of my merch totem pole. I cannot stand it anymore. And I think Funko Pops is what really ruined it.
Oh, sure.
Is the massive oversaturation of those things. All they're going to do is just sit there.
Yeah.
You can look at them, you can smile, and then that's all you can really do with them. It's not even like an action figure where you can pose it and throw it around the room or whatever, and they can't even really do that. What about you, though? Let's turn that question over to you.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. I have a few Beavis and Butthead shirts in my closet, so there's been enough to get me excited to actually make me want to spend my hard-earned money on some of it.
Fair.
That's a plus. But I'm also, we're very similar in that, I'm not going to be buying figurines. I'm not going to be buying lunch boxes. I'm not going to be buying
Not anymore, no.
keychains. No, and I think that that's a sign of being millennials because we are inheriting our boomer parents' shit.
Which we do not want. Nobody wants that.
Right?
Yes. So the last thing we want is more stuff.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need more stuff. We've already got enough. So I think that the way that the marketing works, certainly in 2026, very different from how it was in 1994.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think the merch that is available now is very much a reflection of its times, right?
Think so?
Yeah, I think that it's the kind of stuff that people are gravitating to. It's not completely oversaturated, but it's also visible enough that it's out there. It hasn't reached that tipping point of, oh my God, I'm so tired of seeing it. And that's, I think, very positive.
I agree. I think the amount of offerings is probably just about right. Maybe you could do a little more, but fans who want Beavis and Butthead merch are going to seek it out and find it. And those who are, say, strolling down the aisles at Walmart and come across Beavis and Butthead, if they like Beavis and Butthead, they just might pick up that thing that I'm going to look at and pass by. Get me something that I need to use, like a Beavis and Butthead spatula. And I will buy that because I'll use it.
There you go. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that we did make a fairly big Beavis and Butthead merch purchase for Christmas. You got me something for Christmas that is totally within our wheelhouse of Beavis and Butthead merch. What was that?
I could not resist these, had to not get one, but two of them. And it is Beavis in his famous cornholio stand saying, I need TP for my bunghole. And it is a 3D printed kind of a figurine, but it's for you to put TP into his arms so that you have TP when you run out on the roll.
By the way, if you haven't seen that, it's been all over the Beavis and Butthead subreddit.
Yes. And I suppose we ought to link to the Etsy shop where we bought ours from because they've held up really well and that's nicely done work. And that taps into yet one other little point that I want to mention is a lot of the shirts that you have come from smaller creators.
Yes.
This might also be a millennial thing where we do seek out things from shows and other stuff that we love, and we want to get something, I don't know, maybe like a little more personalized or a little more niche about it than something mass-produced. So you go to smaller marketplaces where people do things like fan art and stuff like that. I know that definitely fits my bill. What do you think?
I think it's great. I think it's great to support smaller businesses, and I do think that Paramount probably has enough money.
Oh, I don't know. Have you looked at headlines lately?
They don't need my cut of the Beavis and Butthead merch to stay afloat.
Well, okay, can I make a correction?
Sure.
any money you're going to throw their way is not going to make up for the massive debt they're inheriting from buying Warner Brothers.
Well, okay. Fair.
Okay, I'm done.
So I'm cool with that, but I also know MTV, Viacom have been very litigious in protecting the Beavis and Butthead trademarks. And
Yes.
I'm scared for small creators because if Paramount is as vigilant about getting YouTube things removed as they are about policing their merch, that's a bad thing.
It could be bad news for creators, and as a Star Trek fan, I do know that occasionally Paramount does crack down on maybe fan-run sites that are doing maybe just a little too well. Maybe they're getting noticed a little too much. Like, I don't know what their line is, but it does seem like if you reach a certain point of popularity, guess what? You get that cease and desist. So I guess the point is support your creators while you can, while they're available.
And don't feel too bad about getting licensed merch either. Let's be honest. Hey, if it makes you happy and it's not hurting anyone else, we're pretty happy for you.
Yeah, get the merch. If it makes you happy, then it's a pretty harmless thing in the long run.
That said, if I see anyone out in public wearing the Skull or Death Rock shirts, we're gonna have words.
Oh my God. Okay, Tom Anderson.
We're
We're gonna have to tangle.
Turkey TV dinner.
All right, I think with that, maybe we ought to start wrapping up the show. What do you say?
We've kind of gone off the rails, and that's okay. I've had a lot of fun actually being able to dip into this conversation that we've been waiting to have for a long time.
Yes.
And that's been really, really fun. I appreciate you. Love you, babe.
Oh, I love you too. And I love the back and forth we get to have on these kinds of topics, which I don't know if there's opportunity to do more like this in this particular format, because this isn't quite a deep dive, but this also isn't just casual conversation. It's somewhere in the middle. I'm down.
And the great thing about being a podcast with a public presence is that now the audience, you, dear listener, can be a part of this conversation too, and we would love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the merchandising, and of course, we'd love to hear your thoughts on literally anything else Beavis and Butthead related. How can people do that? Well, we mentioned it before, but we'll mention it again. Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, and also YouTube, TP for your earholes, all those places. TPForYourEarholes.com is where our contact form is, as well as our total backlog library of all of our previous episodes. And truth be told, we just love hearing from you.
It's true. Tell us about your favorite piece of Beavis and Butthead merch that you own or have owned.
We would love to hear it. And so help me if it's a Skull or Death Rock shirt.
Enough. Get off their dicks. Jeez.
So next week, we're going to have some fun, I think, for people who are fans of Mike Judge.
Yeah.
That's going to be really cool because we are going to be pointing out some parallels that we've noticed between Beavis and Butthead and one of our favorite movies of all time, Office Space.
Yes, we're finally branching out a little bit into the bigger body of work that is Mike Judge.
So we're excited for that. Hopefully you are too. And until then.